Today is the day a number of new state laws go into effect, including new regulations for kids riding in car seats. Aaron Stuvey has more.
August 1st is the day that many new laws go into effect in Minnesota. Some highlights include outlawing cell phone cases that look like firearms, banning courts from denying disabled adults from adopting children, and a few changes to safety laws for children riding in cars and car seats. Children must be in a rear-facing car seat until they are older than 2 years old and surpass the seat's required height and weight. Previously, only one of those requirements needed to be met. The new requirements go all the way up, with kids being able to go to a booster seat after turning 4 years old and meeting the height and weight requirements. And kids can lose the seat after reaching 9 years old and can safely sit in the car's regular seat. Those kids will then have to keep sitting in the back seat until age 13 if possible.
So this is following the American Academy of Pediatrics. So that was already their recommendation before, and it's following along with that. 80% of children are incorrectly placed in their car seats, so they're making sure that they are placed correctly and making sure they're following these guidelines.
Experts say that the hope is that the changes will keep children safer in cars and maximize the chance of kids surviving a crash.
It's just that risk of that car accident, so they're at more of a risk to be injured or potentially death in that situation as well if they're improperly in that car seat.
All height and weight regulations can be found on the car seat, and parents can find more information on the new guidelines on the Buckle Up Kids website, which is run through the Office of Public Safety. Aaron Stuvey, KUYC News.